All right, college basketball is back. There's so many things going on. NFL playoffs. Big Man on Basketball is the podcast. Make sure you listen to it. It is out. Tomorrow's drops at 9 a.m., Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Jeff Nadu, Big Man on Basketball from Barstool Sports. I think he'll disagree with me on my Roseman stuff, though. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, Mike, before we get into the show, I got to tell you, man, and I remember because a few years ago I did a show for a radio station in another city, and I picked out the intro songs, the intro tracks. I don't know who picks your intro tracks out, but that track you just played is one of the greatest Philadelphia tracks ever. Shout out to the guy who picked that instrumental.
Shout out to me.
You picked that.
Don't give him enough credit.
I pick all the music, man.
Now he's going to be bragging about this for the next 10 days.
Now let me ask you: do you know that track or?
Yeah, Benny Siegel, Jay-Z. Once again, come on.
Bear witness to the greatest. Can't beat us. Join us. Keep heaters on us with red lasers. Yeah, that Beanie Siegel is my favorite rapper ever. So when I hear that, I got hyped. Shout out Mike Gill for that one.
I love when you watch Jeff do his videos, by the way. You get a shout-out on the video. You're a somebody. I just became a somebody. All right, man. So Happy New Year to you, first off.
Same to you. Same to all you guys. Thanks.
So college basketball. Now I want to get into – we're in the conference schedule and how that kind of changes things for you and how the season has kind of, been so wild with these back-to-backs. You got teams playing back-to-back nights. Like, has it made it more difficult to kind of figure out what's going on?
I don't know if it's much different than any other season, to be really honest. College basketball has a few deficiencies, one of which is it's always been a song and dance to get injury information. This is just kind of sad state that college basketball and college football, for that matter, are in. The leagues have basically, the NBA, the NFL, they've become very friendly with sportsbook operators, and they're a little bit more helpful. Sadly, though, colleges aren't as nice. Sometimes I've had a couple games this year where certain guys just aren't playing for some reason, and that's no different from any other year. But Mike, I had a really good start to the season. December, most of the end of it, the last 12 to 15 days weren't particularly good, but the last couple of days I've gotten back on the horse, and this is where I think what I do is helpful because a lot of people have been betting football and college football. And I've been betting it, and I've been studying college basketball for months now. So this is where I can kind of spot stuff. I don't have to spend as much time, and Commerce Play is always helpful for me as a college basketball gambler.
Now, I know we got you on like right now, but I know you like this Winthrop team, which is tipped off about 5 minutes ago, but maybe some people can live bet this thing.
Yeah, I played them yesterday. Back-to-backs are tough. I've tried to avoid them as much as I can. I think I'm kind of breaking even with them this year. Winthrop is a team, though, that you got to start really recognizing if you're someone that's lightly betting basketball or you want a team to keep an eye on. This team really has the makeup of a team that I don't want to see in March if they're in a bracket. They're terrific offensively, one of the fastest teams in the country. They have ton of depth and one of the deepest teams you'll find, and they blow teams out. I mean, it's and they're blowing out good teams. They blew out a Furman team that's really good by 16. They scored a ton of points. I think they've scored 80 or more in every game but one, and that was the first game of the year. Charleston Southern's a complete mess. Charleston Southern's a team that really struggled to score the basketball. They have all sorts of injuries. This just isn't really a great tempo game for them because they want to speed it up defensively, and Winthrop's just going to shred them on offense, which is what they did yesterday. So, yeah, I didn't play it today, just with the back-to-backs, but Winthrop's a team that I would write down if I'm a gambler out there.
Yeah, it's them, and I know last night I was in on Drake. They've been a good one to go with. That team's been a lot of fun. But I think it might have been you who said this on the pod the other day about Winthrop is like they could be like the Loyola Chicago type of team. They'd be a team that no one really pays attention to, but could make a deep run in the tournament.
They are. They're really well coached as well. This guy Pat Kelsey they have, he's terrific. And they like I said, very deep. They're a team that, could really scorch you. You don't want to play them offensively. And, you mentioned Drake. I mean, 11-0 against the number. The last team to go 11-0, I think, was St. Mary's a couple of years ago. This team, Drake, right now, I've always been in the notion of if you haven't been betting it, for at least 5 games, I'm going to be the one to come in and jump on it because it's sooner or later going to fall. But I'm going to make this very clear. Drake plays Loyola Chicago on Sunday and Monday. I'll almost guarantee this. They do not cover both those games. I'll make that very clear. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if they lose both of them. It's a coin flip game. Loyola's a better team.
Jeff Nadu, Big Man on Basketball at the podcast. So before I get your thoughts on some of the NFL stuff coming up this weekend, which we will talk more in depth on Saturday morning, but what are some of the games that you're going to get into tonight for tomorrow's podcast?
Yeah, for tomorrow's show, we got a bigger, deeper card. Monday and Tuesday's cards have been pretty lackluster. There's not a ton of games, and I'll tell you what, Mike, the card tonight is a lot of coin flips, a lot of coin flippy games, a lot of close calls. There's not a ton of as far as mid-majors on the card. It's a lot of the back-to-backs that I'm not really in love with getting involved in. So, as far as for me, I only had like one play. A play that I'll just throw out quick to your people. I didn't really understand this line. It's moved around. It opened 134. It was bet up, and then it's been bet back down. Missouri, Mississippi State. These are two teams that are just slow as molasses, particularly Mississippi State. Neither team, I think, can score the basketball against each other. They're both groups that want to play pretty slow and just kind of grind out possessions. Mississippi State is a mess right now. They just can't score consistently. I was surprised by this number. As far as tomorrow, though, on the show, we got Minnesota, who's playing well against Michigan. Bonaventure, they're back in action. They're off a big win. They get St. Joe's. St. Joe's, man, they just cannot get out of their own way. They had a shot to win the other night against Rhode Island, Mike. They're up 3 with about 10 seconds to go. Fats Russo from Philadelphia is fouled on a 3, a terrible decision, and they take it to overtime. Rhode Island wins in overtime. St. Joe's is winless. We'll see if they can go on the road and beat Bonaventure.
All right. Make sure you listen to Big Man on Basketball wherever you get your podcast. It drops tomorrow morning at 9. They'll go a lot deeper. They do a great job. It's a great pod. You learn a lot. I'll tell you what, it's really going to help a lot of people out there come tournament time. When you see, like, man, who the heck is this team as a 7 seed? Why are they here? If you listen to the pod, you'll know a lot more about a lot of these teams once they get there. By the way, my man Sheway leaving the program sucks, but how about that comeback last night?
Yeah, I had my guest on the show the other night, Mike Randall. He liked Oklahoma State, and so did I. If you had Oklahoma State, you should have got the job.
They're
done.
up 19.
That's just where, they're up 19 with 11 to go. You got to get the job done. But, Sheway, losing him sucks for sure. I mean, that's going to hurt them long term. Culver's really good, but with them as a tandem, they were special. They're kind of a team now that I'm going to kind of wait on. By the end of the season, they'll be fine. But I think in the interim, that was just kind of one of those collapses, I guess. It was Oklahoma State more than anything. But, yeah, it was a big win for Huggins.
Yeah, man. All right. Real quick, we'll do deeper on these games Sunday on the playoffs, but any of the wild card games stick out? You got Saints 10-point favorites. That Brown situation's a mess. They're 6-point dogs. You got an 8.5-point dog in Washington at home. Buffalo, 6.5-point favorite. Anything on wild card weekend really jump out at you when those lines came out?
Yeah, just a couple. Colts, Bills, interesting because I've noticed with Indianapolis this year when they step up and play a high-level offense, it usually turns into a bit of a shootout. I think they're a bit of a paper tiger on defense. And when you go back and just look at some of the higher-end offenses, gave up 31 to the Packers, gave up 45 to the Titans, 27 to the Raiders. This is a team that will fold against a good offense. And, look, the Bills are on fire right now. I know it's the playoffs. Things are a little bit more packed in, but these are two offenses I think will move the ball against each other. I still don't necessarily trust the Bills' defense. So that's one I had some interest in. I'd like to see it come down a little bit more, but if I can get 51-ish, I might have some interest there. One game I did bet was New Orleans. I think they take care of business here in a big way. The Bears don't belong in the playoffs. It's just that simple. And the New Orleans Saints, and when you look at this team, I mean, this team has been one of the best offenses in the league, even without Michael Thomas for a period of time. Kamara was out at one point. Drew Brees has been out. We have to also point out really good run defense. And one thing I saw from the Bears on Sunday was they really lean on David Montgomery. I mean, there's not much there. They're dealing with. I mean, you look at one of their best receivers right now, the Bears. It's Darnell Mooney. And I just want to call Darnell Mooney out for just a second, Mike, because there's an Eagle connection here, and I'm going to tell you how it is. This is how anemic the Eagles are at drafting receivers. So they take John Hightower in the fifth round last year. John Hightower has 10 catches on the season. Darnell Mooney on Sunday, Mike, had 11 receptions for 93 yards. He has 4 touchdowns. This team not only can't draft first and second round receivers, but even the back-end players are just terrible. Like, they just never hit on anybody.
Yeah, the wide receiver misses have been just unbelievable. You could put a list of just absolute donkeys out there. All right, Jeff.
Mike, I wrote a blog about a month ago on BarstoolSports.com, and I talked about just the absolute laughable situation the Eagles are in drafting receivers. I mean, it goes back really to, like, the 90s. Outside of Deshaun Jackson, they have never taken a receiver that's done anything. And it's wild how many players that they don't take. Virtually every single one of them is good right? Outside of the one they took.
Jeff Nadu, the podcast is a big man on basketball. He's at Jeff Nadu. Follow him there. Also, tell us about the Barstool Fund and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, this is a cool thing Dave created. It's basically, it's been pretty clear throughout the last month or two that the federal government has no real interest in helping small businesses. And, they're the backbone of our country. Wherever you live, Mike, I know down in South Jersey, I'm a guy that will move there eventually. I love that area. There's so many great businesses down there. I know they're struggling with a limited summer. Businesses are hurting right now. And, Dave's put together a fund. All the proceeds that are donated, from celebrities or just regular people, every dollar goes to struggling small businesses. I think we've helped, and Dave's helped about 70 businesses so far around the country, and yet more keep getting added. I know Penn donated $1 million today, so
wow.
They're up pushing $20 million in the last couple of weeks. So, I urge anyone out there, if you can afford to donate, just whatever you can. This is a fund, Mike, that I think we have to realize we are the line of defense in helping each other now. This is crystal clear. Okay. The government isn't going to help us. So we got to band together and make our voices heard and go help people. And, good for Dave and good on Dave for doing it.
That's Barstool Sports. You can get all the information there at Jeff Nadu on Twitter if you want to donate. Those calls have been great with Dave and calling the businesses. I've been seeing them out there, so great job out of those guys. All right, Jeff's back on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. We'll look at the wild card weekend, college basketball card. Listen to the podcast tomorrow. It drops at 9 a.m. Jeff Nadu, Barstool Sports. All right, my friend.
Mike, good to have you back, by the way. Good to hear your voice. Thanks for having me.
You got it. He, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline.